we are going to cover several topics, including things from video game updates, Battletoads reviews, and first up, we're going to go into something that I wouldn't normally cover. However, I feel that it is important to have this type of information out there. This is from news source Business Insider. And they are saying that we now have the best evidence yet that everyone develops long-term coronavirus immunity after infection, and it's not just about antibodies. So, in this article, they go into some studies, starting with one that happened in, I believe it was Sweden, where they went through and tested about 206 different people who had it, everywhere from having no symptoms at all to severe symptoms. And the information goes in that because of memory T cells can stick around for years while antibodies drop following infection, that these memory T cells that are sticking around in our system, they provide long-term immunity. These are the types of things that allow our body to have protection for years after something comes in and infects our system. So this is good news overall. This means that we can expect to see progress. So those who get vaccines, once those become readily available, will have a longer term immunity with those things built up in our systems. Now, this doesn't say for mutations, but last I heard, mutations of it, there has been nothing that has mutated in the virus that would cause the current vaccines that are in development to not work, because they are focused on what is called RNA. That's effectively like DNA for a virus. It's what, when a virus attaches itself to a cell, it then kind of drills itself into a cell and then forces the RNA in there in order to produce more of the virus. And as far as we know, the RNA portion has not mutated. So this is good news on the overall, knowing that those who have already had it are unlikely to see a resurgence, simply because they will have these in their system. At least so far, everything points to this long-term protection, as well as us getting the vaccine. So those who have not had it will get that vaccine and potentially see long-term protection from that as well. So if a renewed vaccine continues to happen with this, we could see the actual elimination of this virus from being a problem. And so I wanted to share that news, because there's some other news that came out of China about something similar for this type of information. I highly recommend that you go over and read this. I will have this in the description notes once I get the video posted up later on today, and also up on YouTube. You'll be able to click through on that. But this is over on Business Insider. It was written by Alan Woodward on August 18th at 3:52 p.m. So I highly suggest that you go and check this out. You might have a little bit of difficulty finding it. In order to find it, I had to go over and click on the three little bars, go to all, and then you drop down to science, because this isn't their typical reporting, but they do have reporting under science. And then you just scroll down through the science and look at the dates and times, and that'll be the fastest way to find it before the link goes live. So continuing on over into gaming news, we have a big one today. We have a tweet from Daniel Ahmad, who says new PS5 ad in Hungarian only for now has gone live. So we've got a leaked video for PlayStation 5 ad, and I'm going to go ahead and play that for you now. So sit back and enjoy this for the next moment. It doesn't have really anything that's going to provide any real spoilers, but it is going to be somewhat informative on this. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and click play on that now.
Welcome to a world where you can feel more. See with hear sound and feel force at your fingertips. Welcome to a new world of immersion.
PlayStation.
So there you have it. Just a little quick video there available for that. So yeah, it's interesting to see that go up. Doesn't really provide us with a whole lot of information. However, it is more than we've seen so far, but it is exciting to know that we are going to start having that type of thing pop up soon. So if you see any more information on things like this, make sure that you hop on my Twitter over at _Gray_Falcon. So the Gray Falcon. You can see that information highlighted down below. And just give that a check out. So yeah, we're going to continue on from that, but that is exciting news. So now we're going to head over into review of Battletoads, and we've got some mixed information coming out on this. Starting with Game Informer, they rank the game as a 5 out of 10. And they say, this uninformative reboot unearths the Battletoads name only to drag it through the mud. And the reviewer says, the kindest thing I can say about Battletoads is this. It works. The controls are fine. I encountered no major technical issues, and an optional invincibility feature allows you to easily clear sections that are giving you too much trouble. Simply being playable from the beginning to the end is a tragically low bar to clear, but it's the main thing Battletoads has going for it. Otherwise, this baffling experience digs through decades of gaming history to unearth Battletoads' name only to drag it through the mud. So, this is a pretty negative overall view of it by Joe Juba on Game Informer. So I'm a little surprised by this, but we hop over to IGN and we get a completely different idea where they say it's an 8 out of 10. It's a great game. Where they go in and say, Battletoads not only revives the long dormant beat up franchise, it makes it fun to play for everyone instead of only ultra hardcore masochists. And if they made a TV show about these hilarious characters, I'd watch it. So their verdict, they say, after more than a quarter of a century in limbo, this new iteration of the legendary difficult Battletoads takes everything that has made the NES original memorable and reworks it into a friendlier, funnier beat-em-up, entertaining characters with great visual style, simple but rewarding combat, and mini-games. And the rad soundtrack coalesces into a respectably enjoyable revival, with the most notable shortcomings being that the enemy variety is a little slim and the story is over quickly. So, completely different review from Game Informer here on IGN. So, this one was reviewed by Terrence Wiggins. So, I don't know if you have interest in those reviewers, but two very different perspectives and two very different presentations on how this game plays out. Now, over on Polygon, they don't give a review score number, but I'm just going to go really quick. They kind of have the same impressions as Game Informer and say that Battletoads is an overcomplicated, obnoxious sequel. At least it's on Game Pass. And it's interesting to see that these reviews are kind of all over the place. So, down at the bottom, he says, I stopped playing Battletoads with a sigh of relief. The difficulty and relentless, tiresome jokes were too much. I'll never see the ending of Zitz, Pimple, and Rash, latest adventure, and my wife will never let me forget the night I made her play Battletoads. So, this is by Ryan Gillum. And again, another down review on this classic franchise. So it's sad to see such mixed reviews. And I don't know, we've got one more here, and this comes over on WCCF Tech, where they write that they give it an 8 out of 10, writing that Battletoads is surprisingly successful at recapturing the spirit of Rare's beloved NES original. The game's striking visuals, wildly varied level design, and satisfying sense of challenge easily make up for the occasional frustrating moment or groan-worthy joke. If you've been waiting 26 years for a new Battletoads, Rash Zitz and Pimple's latest ought to scratch that itch. So, I don't know. I'm wondering if we have two reviewers who have played the classic and really love the classic and feel like this is something that has come about and just brought back that nostalgia that they really like and gives the option to relax and enjoy something that they haven't seen in years, or even still go into a hardcore mode if they want and have some extreme difficulty. Seems like this is something where you can get the extreme if you were used to the old Battletoads and want that super difficult fight, or if you're playing with your kids, they can sit down and enjoy it with the invincible mode. They say that it has some cringy humor on WCCF Tech. Brawling is irritating at times, stiff cutscene animations, and no online co-op. But it does have fun character development, level design is as diverse as ever, smoothly animated in-game visuals, proper headbanging soundtrack, challenging yet acceptable, good value for $20, and couch co-op. Again, this is also free on Game Pass. I will be streaming this later today, so you can take a look, see for yourself, and if you have Game Pass, you can check it out on your own and see if this is something that you'd actually enjoy and want to play. It is available on PC through Game Pass as well. The final review was brought to you by Nathan Birch. So let's check that out. Let's have some fun. Let's definitely stream this later on, and let's see what all the controversy is about. I have played Battletoads and beat the original Battletoads at arcade. However, it was not when I was a kid. It's been within the last few years. I had fun playing it. It was an entertaining, and at times I could see where the difficulty was. But I don't have the nostalgia from being a kid and playing this. But I do have the background of playing and enjoying this original arcade game at my local arcade. So I am going to find out what this is all about for this new one and see if I agree with either of these review takes. Continuing forward, we have an update from Bloodlines 2, the new vampire game that's in the works. This is some down news because over at Paradox Entertainment, the group that produces and makes this game, they have announced that their lead narrative designer, Brian Mitsoda, and I'm going to butcher the second one, and creative director Kai Clooney are no longer part of the team at Hardsuit Labs. This was a joint decision made by the leadership of Hardsuit Labs and Paradox Entertainment. So, this is some unfortunate news. If you are a fan of the vampire games, we don't know how this is going to impact the game overall. This game has been in development for a while. We'll see how this affects the overall quality and creation of it. But I was looking forward to playing the next one. This game, Vampire, for the last one, was on Game Pass. And this was a game that I did not expect to like. It was an RPG, though. I had downtime. I wasn't sure what I wanted to play. And thanks to Game Pass, I was able to sit down and enjoy this game. The vampire game was buggy and it had glitches and issues, but I'll be honest, it was a ton of fun to get through. I wouldn't have spent $60 on it, but I also wouldn't have experienced it if it hadn't been for Game Pass. So this game coming out, I would like to purchase it and play through it. Now, am I willing to pay the $60 premium price tag? I guess that's going to depend upon when it comes out and what it comes out around. We'll see what some of the reviews have to say on it, unless somehow I manage to get lucky enough to get an early review copy, which would be incredible. So, if anybody out there is watching or has contact with Paradox or with Hardsuit Labs and would like to shoot me a review copy when this comes out, I'd be ecstatic about that. Alright, so continuing on, we have news over for World of Warcraft Shadowlands, where ray tracing is now available. This comes up from Wccftech. So, ray trace shadows within World of Warcraft Shadowlands have now been enabled in the game's beta/PTR, and the first comparison shots have now surfaced online. So this is really exciting. The alpha had been going on, but this is the first time that anyone who has beta access, or I believe anybody can access the public test realms if they want, can get in here and actually see these visual effects. I'm going to flip through some of these images just so you can see the lighting effects in this game for with and without. And you get that extra visual effect. I mean, granted, it's World of Warcraft, so the lighting for water effects are not the greatest, but it does give some extra depth to shadow. It does give a little bit more natural lighting. Excuse me. In this one, they even looks like we're looking at built in two different ways, even, because you can see that like you have these little T's up on the corner that disappear. I don't think that's a part of ray tracing. So this is shadows turned on, turned off. I'll be honest, there's some effect, but it's very minor in this game. Maybe we'll see a bigger difference within this water, but no, it's exciting that they are implementing this, but unfortunately, as you can see from these photos provided over on Wccftech, there's just not a whole lot of visual effect that is taking place with this. Perhaps they're using a very low-end version of ray tracing. It's possible. You do have to have a ray tracing capable card for this to happen. But as we've seen with like Minecraft, that even using the new, I believe it's DLSS 2.0 system, and this is only running on 1.1. 2.0 requires a ton of resources, and you can only see 8 blocks out as the default because on the lowest end cards, so the little square blocks, that's how far it renders out with the ray tracing for visual effects because of how much demand that takes. And even if you have a high-end 2080 Ti, you can only get up to 28 blocks, and the default in normal Minecraft is 30. So we're seeing some... So we're seeing one of the uses of ray tracing, and it's probably just more for shadow effects in this. They're not getting the reflection on the water as well. It's probably not full world illumination. It's dumbed down. Now, this is good in some ways because it means that games can implement ray tracing for just basic shadows and other effects for lighting setups, and it requires less engineering on the programmer's side to bring this into reality, because lighting can be a huge pain, requires tons of time and effort in order to get things lit properly, get the proper bounce of light, and this just makes it simpler even with the more basic use of ray tracing. Unfortunately, this isn't something like Metro Exodus, which takes full effect, full power of world illumination. So we're not seeing a whole lot of difference here between these, and I think that's kind of unfortunate. But maybe we'll see this get into 2.0, which reduces the actual number of resources that are needed by your computer in order to do this, and we'll get better effects in World of Warcraft long term. So moving on, other news for Nvidia. They had their conference, or they had their business meeting yesterday to report earnings, and their data segment shines brighter than the gaming business. So this is also over on WCCF Tech, and effectively Nvidia beat expected earnings everywhere that it could be seen. So it says Q2 2021. That is actually for this year. They're just how their fiscal year works. It is listed as Q2 for 2021 fiscal year because that's when their year ends, will be in 2021. So effectively, you can see what Q2 2020 was, and a year over, they have hit 3.866 billion in comparison to 2.58 from 2020 last year. And it just shows continuous growth. But overall, the consensus, this is where they were expected to finish, was at 3.66. So they beat expectations overall. And this is a consistent trend. And you can see that in gaming, gaming revenue was high, but it was beat out by data center for Q2 2021, which is the first time I believe this has ever happened for Nvidia. So this is big news because a lot of money comes from data center. It's far more money overall, and when you can get than gaming, because individual consumers, oftentimes buy mid-range things, but you get into data centers and you're talking high-end professional equipment constantly being purchased, where the base item cost is probably up to twice as much as the top-end consumer item. So there's a lot of money to be made in data center revenue. And again, we just have a graph showing the non-GAAP EPS beating consensus by 21 cents. So that's where it ended up. Consensus was at $1.97, and it finished at $2.18. So overall, just that's where that 21 cents comes in. It just beats the consensus, and overall up from Q1 2021, where it was sitting at 1.8 or $1.80. So head over here. You can read through all the details, get specifics on where some of this money is going into, from dealing with Acer, Dell, Lenovo, Microsoft, their Nvidia Quattro cards. There's a lot of good information if you are into this type of thing. So head over there, get that, dig deep into that, and you can learn about what's going on with the stock. The stock was a good buy for this last year at 104% increase. So you effectively doubled your money if you bought it a year ago and have it in your pocket today. Some other stock news: Airbnb has confidentially filed to go public. So Airbnb has been private. They said that they were going to go public this year, and Techcrunch is reporting here that they have taken the first steps to getting this fully public. So confidentially filed to go public. So effectively, what's happening here is it's kind of I believe a private round. So companies can go in, and other large businesses or people who effectively have a big chunk of change can go in and invest in this and buy a large portion. And that's where this sits right now for major investors, and then we'll move over from here into full public where individuals can purchase it. So if you do things through like EU Trade, or I think it's Robinhood is another one of those free ones, or even through your bank where they have that, you can go in and start investing in this early. Now, in my experience with investing, I have found that when companies like this, we saw this with Facebook, where they go public, it hits this really high mark, and then all of a sudden, because everyone's buying, it's first out there, everyone's buying, it's pushing the stock higher, and it gets that initial evaluation, and then shortly after this buy run, you get a month in, and all of a sudden the price plummets down below where its initial release. And that doesn't mean it's a bad thing overall. That just means that we have so many people that are making these purchases. We might get that first report in for financials, and it doesn't look as good as what people were hoping, because there hasn't been a history of showing where those financials are going, people selling off the stock, and you get 3 months in, and all of a sudden you get a much better deal on purchasing that stock. But then long term, you can still see a growth and rise in that value, just like Facebook slowly grew and came back up over that hump and turned into positive returns again. So if you're in the stock market and you're interested in investing and looking into these types of things, Airbnb coming up as one could be a potential way to go and earn some growth and money. We'll see how all that pans out long term, but I thought that was exciting news. And back over into some more tech news. Intel has claims that it's cheaper to build a faster gaming PC with its 10th gen core CPUs than AMD's Ryzen 3000 CPUs, and pits Core i7 10700K against the Ryzen 9 3900 XT. Now, I don't know that this is the right comparison. I would have to double check on pricing, but part of they do show pricing here where they list this at $387. Where like Newegg it shows 409, where the 3900 XT at 499, or currently at 479.99 on Amazon. But here's the problem with this. The 3000 CPU is behind the 10th gen just came out recently. The 3000 CPU is still an older processor at this point comparatively. So what's going to happen here is AMD has already said that they have new processors coming out this year. They have their 4000 series coming out for computers, and all expectations is that is going to trounce everything that Intel has in every way, shape, and form for the first time, including gaming. Now, this is just speculation and rumors, but this information is coming out and leaking for benchmarks and other information. Like I said, you have to take all those with a grain of salt, but what we're seeing so far is that this information is trying to compete just on gaming alone with their CPUs against basically what's about to be an out-of-date CPU in a system where in most things it's still the graphics card which makes the biggest difference. And we already saw earlier this week where Intel was told, I believe it was just yesterday, that a person at Nvidia during a meeting, or one of the motherboard makers, said Intel sure screwed this up because Rocket Lake was supposed to have PCI Express 4.0, so the new PCI Express slot, in order to maximize how much bandwidth that a GPU can use in order to help performance. And Rocket Lake isn't out. They've announced that it had to get delayed, and motherboard makers have these motherboards sitting around. They have this information printed on them that it's going to work with this, and there's no CPUs available that will actually work with PCI Express 4.0. In the meantime, Ryzen is already on that with their 3000 series, and it will continue that with their 4000 series. Now, it's possible this won't make any difference in gaming overall, but just overall, this is kind of misleading because the CPU, except for very specific games, is not really that effective at what's occurring on your screen. It does help in some instances where you get that 5 gigahertz bump, and that is going to be more impressive to show that you have 240 frames per second versus 190 on, for instance, maybe the Ryzen 3950 XT, which is actually the top end for them, but they're not comparing the two highest end ones. But there is one other interesting thing about this. The 3900 XT is not Ryzen's best performing gaming CPU. It is designed and built for multitask purposes. It is for someone like myself who is streaming and playing games and doing multiple processes. It's for the multitasker. It's for the engineer or the concept designer who is creating something, and when they go to render a product, it uses all those cores to build that up. And that's even at the low end, because that's not even getting into Threadripper, which does an even better job at those tasks. But the 3900 XT is great for gamers who stream, gamers who do more than just gaming at the same time, who use their computer for work. So they're comparing it to a processor that isn't even intended specifically just for gaming. If you go to some of the lower end processors, you'll see that in comparison that the competition gets closer and smaller. So dropping down to a Ryzen 3700 XT is probably going to be a better bet in comparison for this. Now, the i7 10700K, sorry, that is a mouthful, is still going to outperform the 3700, but at this point, wait. See how the new processors do. Unless you absolutely have to have a computer and you only use it for gaming, you might as well wait and see what AMD's new processor is going to do and how that pans out. All right, and now we're going to get into some other information about people in gaming. We're going to start off with Pokimane's apology over on Kotaku. Pokimane, who's a Twitch streamer and does YouTube videos, has come out and issued an apology. She says basically that this apology is way too late, and she said inappropriate things while on Twitch years ago and has admitted her being wrong in those situations. You can actually go to YouTube and watch her apology video. They also have it linked here in Kotaku. So if this is something that you've been watching, had interest in, this is important news. Whether or not it's how much of an impact it has, or if it's still having an impact, it obviously is on her career because she finally broke down and released this apology video. It's possible that she was just getting everything cleared up, making sure that those things that were causing the problem were removed before issuing this so she could have all that in there. But overall good. Hopefully this is a lesson learned, and we can all remember our being in our youths, being younger and making stupid mistakes. Hopefully not this type of mistake, but making mistakes in our lives and realizing, okay, I've grown up, I've learned from this type of thing. And this appears to be what has happened with her. Then Bethesda Games speaks out on the death of Robert Trump. This is President Donald Trump's brother. This normally wouldn't be something that's on here. However, Robert Trump was on the board for ZeniMax, which owns Bethesda Games. So they came out and posted, "We are deeply saddened by the passing of Robert Trump, longtime member of the ZeniMax board of directors." The statement reads, "Robert had served on the ZeniMax board since the company's founding in 1999. During that time, he was a constant source of guidance and counsel for the company for more than 2 decades. In addition to his vast experience, Robert was extremely approachable and always threatened board members and employees equally. Always treated board members and employees equally. Sorry. We could not have grown as a company and achieved our many successes without the help and support of that he offered. He will be sorely missed, and we extend our condolences to his family and friends." So, we have that happen. If you'd like to read the full story write-up, it's not very long, but it is over here on GameSpot. Just a note in Bethesda's history and ZeniMax's, and someone who definitely had an impact on the company. And in lighter news, we have Lego launches Braille bricks for children with vision impairment. So this is exciting. So they've actually put Braille on the bricks so the kids can read what's on them. They can create sentences and just have fun playing while learning. So if you have difficulty with a child who needs to learn Braille, is visually impaired, this could be a fun way for them to get out there, learn this. If you have kids who, just you want to have learn this type of thing, family members who would be interested in this, you can go out and pick up this kit and start learning to read with your fingers today. So very positive, very exciting news for those who have kids in this situation or have a family member who has gone blind, and just giving them that ability to learn in a fun way. So on that note, I'm going to say thank you to everyone for watching. This has been another Morning Nerdy News with Gray Falcon. Again, remember to click that follow button if you enjoyed this. Click subscribe if you're watching this over on YouTube. And you can follow me as the Gray Falcon on Twitter. If you have any information that pops up that you'd like me to read during this, or just want to hang out and chat over there, remember you can leave comments under the YouTube videos, and we'll have links to the description below later on today. Again, thank you and have a good one.